All right. Hey, everyone. Jason here. Thanks for joining us live, whether you're on Facebook, Instagram, YouTube. We're live on all three platforms. Super excited for our episode today with Dante. Before I go any further, Dante, why don't you go ahead and introduce yourself to everyone?
Yeah, so I'm Dante. I'm from Boston, Massachusetts. I live in the city. I'm a real estate agent out here, taking my game to another level with content creation. I appreciate BombBomb having me on the live right now. We're going to chop up some pretty cool things today. Again, what I kind of bring around my business is just new innovation with tech, stepping up Instagram, stepping up Facebook, doing it right, and making sure that I'm getting out there to all my viewers. And I think that's what Jason's going to touch on today too. So get ready. It's going to be a cool little session.
Absolutely, man. So tell me a little bit, just kind of as we jump in, tell me how you got started. How did you get started in real estate? And at what point did you decide to kind of double down on your content game?
Yeah, so that's a really good question. I got started in real estate. Oddly enough, I was working through my family company, and I saw bigger things in life for myself. I saw how my family built a family business, and at one point, I just thought it wasn't for me, and I wanted to build my own empire. And what better way to do that than work with people you already know, have good connections. I went to school out in Connecticut. I went to a prep school out in Massachusetts. So I built a huge network right from the jump. So how could I keep in touch with everybody? How could I not? I mean, social media is great, but I wanted to help someone. And I found that, what was resourceful was just keeping in touch with everyone, but I wanted to take it a step further. So I said, you know what? I think real estate could be for me. I learned all these different cities and towns inside out. I familiarized myself with not only New England, but traveling around the country and just understanding and making so many cool connections. And how could I bring everyone together? And, that's where I kind of pieced everything together. And that's kind of where I brought my real estate game. So instead of being that local agent, I kind of sought out to be something bigger and better. And that's when I said, aha, I got that moment. And I said, look, I think I could bring this to a whole nother level in real estate. And not only can I help people, but I can help the world. And that's kind of my view on it. So that's kind of really where I stand and how I got into it. I got brought in through one of my buddies. Shout out to Torin. He's probably watching this right now. He's actually one of my team members, and he's one of my boys. And he kind of got me hooked. And ever since then, I've been rocking and rolling in real estate.
So tell me, like, at what point you saw the potential? Like, did you come in to starting real estate already doing, Instagram and having followers there? Or is that something you built through your business as you kind of got started?
Yeah, so I mean, I saw an opportunity in Instagram, right? I've been an active user since probably 2011. So I've been in it since Instagram changed its whole entire, user experience. When before it was like the old school Instagram, no stories, just kind of straight pics. No one was really on it. Facebook was still booming at the time.
Yep.
But really where I saw an opportunity was when pretty much started when people like fitness industry really started booming on Instagram. I think that was kind of the first real boom on here. And then it kind of moved over to other industries. And I said, hey, like there's a huge network right now to jump in for real estate. Let me see what I can do. And instead of just putting my name out there and putting my name on a sign and just letting people know what I do in cold calling, I said, this could be the new cold calling, right? This could be the new type of marketing. And social media marketing was just on the rise in, 2012, 2013. Right when I graduated college in 14, I went back to my family company. I said, this isn't for me. And then when I hopped in real estate, I said to myself, look, like I'm going to take advantage of this. I'm going to flip it upside down. I'm going to do things that nobody else is doing. And I saw Instagram as that opportunity and that platform. Like I said, going back to my connections, I had everybody on Instagram, right? I had my community of people on Instagram. And now we're seeing a lot of different age groups migrate over from Instagram, from Facebook. So now it's, I'm casting an even wider net. And I just saw an opportunity there that was really untapped at the time. And I decided to double down, go 110% and just go all in.
So how have you leveraged Instagram to help grow your business? Tell me a little bit about like some of the ways that you're really making this happen.
Yeah, so when I first started off, I just, was posting like I buy, lease, and sell, kind of going through the natural progression. Like, hey, I'm here, I'm your local guy, call me. And then, like I said, when I started realizing that, the education system was sort of not providing any type of information on how to buy a house, I said I could almost become a school teacher to my followers in a sense. And at that point, I had a pretty big base. I had like 4,000 followers at that point, just from making mutual connections around the country. And, I was involved in some nightlife stuff. And so I said to myself, how can I educate everybody? I knew my network. I knew my following. I knew that they were from the age demographic of probably like 20 to 35. Now it's changed over time organically.
Yeah.
But, I realized, I had an opportunity to teach, and I had an opportunity for people to learn. A lot of people know how to buy a car. They know how to apply for a job. They know the basics of kind of, if you will, going into that real world after graduation or after they graduate from high school or college or whatever, but they never knew how to buy a house. No one taught them that.
Right.
So they're going to Zillow, Trulia, they don't know what to do. And then they're hearing mortgage and they're like, where do I start? So then I realized, instead of me just putting my name out there and saying, hey, look, I'm Dante, I buy, lease, and sell, I said to myself, let me sit down and educate people. Let me take my real life experiences from real estate and transpire them into Instagram posts, Instagram content. And this is going to be relatable to everybody, and I started catering to just first-time home buyers. And then it obviously began to domino effect into, other opportunities. And now we're here today. And, I almost see myself as a teacher, right? That's how I kind of structure my business. And that's how I'm going to continue doing that too, to pursue. So valuable content.
So yeah, so like in that content piece and in that play of what you're doing and how you're growing your business,
right.
Where did you get, what do you use to kind of your guiding light of the type of content? You're talking about first-time home buyers, you're doubling down on that.
Right.
But then from there, how do you know the types of stuff that you're going to share, the types of stuff that you want to be talking about?
Yeah, and that's a good question. So making evergreen content is key in any industry. You want to teach people about your industry. You want them to learn. Like, I just couldn't have someone call me up and say, look, I want to buy a house, but they don't even know where to start. So I'm organically teaching them with just quick hits all day, and they're taking home nuggets, little pieces at a time. And then when it actually does come time to buy, they know who their guy is right up front, because I'm teaching them quick hits and what to do. And they're just like quick tips of the day. You ever see, like, it's kind of corny, but like, on the Snapple caps, they have like those little tips of the day. You ever see that on the inside of a Snapple? That's kind of how you see me, right? I want to be that guy. I want to be that little tip of the day that you take away every single day. And then when it does come time to buy, you know who to call.
So I love that. And Matt, we're on Instagram Live as well. We're on Facebook, YouTube. If you've got questions or comments, drop them. You just got a massive shout out from Judy Weiniger, who freaking one of our video influencers, top 5 video influencers on socials, shouting out. You do the best job on stories.
Yeah.
So thanks, Judy, for that. We agree. That's why you're on here. I think it's an interesting concept that you're talking about, Dante, that instead of, a lot of times, I think a lot of agents focus on building these content strategies that are really heavy or big in their educational nature. But you're doing these like quick hit little things to people that maybe aren't even thinking about buying yet, but you're still educating them. You're still staying top of mind in your consistency. Tell me a little bit about kind of like, how do you target and how do you map that out? Or is it just kind of what comes to you in the moment? Do you time block? Do you create it all, post it later? Like, what's your content strategy?
It's like an everyday routine, right? You wake up, you go to work, you might exercise, you eat, you go to bed. You have to implement this in there. And what I said to myself was, when I first began this industry about 3 years back, I said to myself, I can't sit at home and prospect all day and, cold call random people. I have to figure out a balance, right? So what I did was I started creating content, taking an hour a day and creating content that was valuable to me. And I realized that instead of me begging for my network to work with me, I started giving them content that they could relate to, or content that they could take away. And then once you as the agent or broker realize who your network is, you can even dig deeper. You don't have to be 20 to 30 years old and work with first-time home buyers. If there's first-time home buyers that are 60 years old. But if you have if you're in that period of time where you're an agent and most of your clients are buying second or third homes, then maybe it's time to gear towards that. Teach them some quick hits on how to buy a second or third home, that they need 15% plus down, quick little tips like that. And the way to do that is to essentially build out a schedule. An hour a day, dig deep. If you prospect all day, set aside another 30 minutes of your day. I started saying to myself, as business continually picked up, I needed to get up earlier. That was really my my trick to keep a schedule, a normal working schedule. I never wanted to outsource my content. And I just thought that valuable traits that I learned along the way in real estate could be helpful to everybody else. But it's just keeping organized. That's literally it. Do not overthink it. A lot of people overthink it. They mastermind and brainstorm for an entire year. And then the next year they say they're going to do it. And then they brainstorm again. Just do it. It doesn't matter what type of, I can get fancy because I teach myself how to dig deep and how to create, really cool ads on different types of software. But if you just put out legitimate evergreen content, don't overthink it, just do it. And I was just at a seminar, and I know you guys, shout out to Curator. I know you guys do a lot of biz. Curator is a big advocate of BombBomb. And, I spoke at Curator's recent event, and I told people, don't overthink it. Identify your network, identify the who in your network, and identify what, and the what is the type of content, and just blast it out there.
So what I want to dive a little bit deeper there, because I think what type of content? So you set this time aside. Where do you get your ideas on what it is that you're going to talk about? Because I think that's where a lot of people get stuck, right? They get stuck in the composition, but they also get stuck in the idea of what they want to communicate. Right. So where do you get your ideas from? What is in your content?
Yeah, it's a good question. So when you take out a client and they ask you a question, usually you give them an answer back. But I write those questions down. I put them in my notes, and I see how I can turn that and chop that up into content. So if I have a first-time home buyer that says to me, can I get a gift of $10,000 from my family? I put that into valuable content for everybody else to see. Not just, oh yeah, you can certainly do that, but it has to be under X amount of dollars. I put that in my notes. I go home, and then when I have time, I'll chop that up. So real life scenarios that I'm getting from real people, real humans that have a lot of these questions. And a lot of my shift has been, no question is a dumb question, because I feel like a lot of times people don't want to ask questions. They feel like it might be irrelevant, or it might just be something they're overthinking. But those are the type of questions I want, and I feed off that. And that essentially goes, in a circle for me, and it goes back into my content then, if you will. And then I implement content from that. So just basic real life strategy. So if you take out a client and they're asking you questions, don't just answer it, write it down, and then refer back to that.
Dude, I love that. I think that's such a key way that's not overthinking it, but you're already the expert. You already know the answers.
You already know the answers.
Right. Yeah. So tell me something that we were chatting about that you've done. I've seen this in your content, and I think it's brilliant, is a little bit of how you're leveraging listings and how you market listings to your first-time home buyers, knowing that full and well they may not be the one ready for that property, but you sell the idea of being a homeowner. Talk about how you pivoted your listing marketing to this idea.
So for the listing aspect, it's pretty cool. So depending on if they know what Instagram is, and I think we could probably say the majority of people who own a smartphone know what Instagram is at this point. I'm not going to walk into a listing appointment and open up my Instagram and say, listen, I have 20,000 followers. But if we're building rapport throughout that entire listing presentation, I'm going to leverage that at the end. I want that to be the dagger. I don't want that to be the start, because at the end of the day, they're hiring me for my expertise and value. But for me, it's going to be the dagger. So at the end, that's when I'm going to whip it out and say, you know what? If you sign this contract today, this is going to get in front of 25,000 people right when I walk out the door. So I'm not walking in saying that I have, first-time home buyers lined up, which I do, but I use it as the end, kind of just as my arsenal at the end of a listing presentation. And I feel like that is such a huge value add once they understand that you're actually getting it out to a 25,000 follower organic network. And my business has sort of excelled to the point where it's gotten to be referral based, and I'm working with a ton of agents in other states. And once I blast it out there, and I tell my sellers this, once I blast it out there, you might not be getting calls. I might be not getting direct messages from people looking. I might be getting calls from agents out in California or Utah saying that they have clients coming over that might love that place. So I use that at the end. And I think that works very effectively. And, obviously Facebook has done a fantastic job with just target marketing. And I think it's becoming super mainstream. So it's like, what's the next best thing? And I do use Instagram for that, but that does come at the end of my presentation.
So I have a follow-up question. And Anthony, I just saw your question pop in, man. I'll ask that in just a question. But one of the things we talked about, Dante, that you did is when you're marketing that listing, you don't
Right.
necessarily go hard at like, you talk about the home, but you also use it as a way to kind of paint the picture to all the renters, to all the people that
Yep.
maybe haven't
Yep.
bought yet. Instead of going hard on like the benefits of the home or the features of the home, you talk about the benefits of home ownership as a way to be small little pieces of content that is constantly reminding people that home
Yeah.
ownership is in their future. How do you structure that, or how do you kind of, because I think that's a brilliant idea of pivoting how you
Yeah.
market a listing. I want to get deeper into how you actually get that done.
And this is a shout out to all the trolls on there on my DM, because people always argue with me and say, well, isn't renting cheaper than owning a home? And I'm saying, are you thinking short term or are you thinking long term? Because if you're thinking long term, then you wouldn't be asking this question right now. So I already got the answer to that question. And and those are the type of people that really fuel the fire for me to really show people and motivate people on, instead of dumping your money, recycle it, right? Don't trash it, recycle it. And I think it's advantageous because a lot of people and a lot of just relationships I have in like the financial planning industry, that's the first thing that they tell me. And I learn a lot from people outside my industry. And I also implement and execute a lot of content from them. And I bring it into that. And I tell people, look, all the time, like, if you're a renter, you're just dumping your money away. It's pretty straightforward, but no one else does that. No one says that stuff, and that's the stuff that people need to hear, the cold hard truth, like, I don't know the off the top, the percentage of millennials that rent, but I can tell you that there's a lot more millennials that are considering buying now because of how high the rent is. So, how do I structure that and put that into content? And like I said, it goes back to that everyday instance with one of my clients, and we have that conversation. If they're on the fence of renting, they might have, some money in their bank account and they want to put it to work. Then I'm going to tell them how to put it to work the right way. And I pride them in that. And I say, listen, when you're 50, 60 years old and then you're looking to buy, you should have probably put that $14,000 in savings into a 3% down, and then said to yourself, look, I could have built that equity in the past 30 years and bought another home and leveled up. So my whole expression is just leveling up. And that's what I tell my clients all the time. You might not be at your end goal right now. You got to start small. And I'm trying to give them the smaller picture right now, but the larger picture down the road. A lot of people are just looking way, way too short term, and they don't have an equal balance. So you have to have a balance in life too with it. And you have to understand what the long-term goals are too. So I tell my clients and I pride them. I say, look, like, you're going to be happy with this home for 3 to 5 years. And then we're going to have this conversation again, but let's start now, because I'm in a city where, rent costs up front is $15,000, right? But you can do as low as 0% down in some financing programs and buy a home. So what makes more sense? So I'm extracting financial planners, mortgage lenders, and even sometimes real estate attorneys and escrow and title professionals' advice, and I'm implementing it all into one.
That's awesome.
And
That's super cool. So we just had a bunch of people jump on Instagram. Thank you guys. If you're following along on Facebook, interviewing Dante for the Bombcast, talking strategies and tactics of leveraging Instagram and social media, getting this content out. Anthony had a question, how have you grown your followership, right? I mean, you're at like 27,000, almost 28,000 followers. He said it's growing, but it's slow. Like for you, what were some of the things that you did? How long have you been growing? I think that's a lot of times people see that number, don't realize you've probably been at this. I think you said you started in 2011 on Instagram.
Yeah. So that's the thing.
For 7 years, but like, when did that growth kind of happen? And now how do you continue to attract new followers?
Yeah. And Anthony, my answer to you is don't worry about the number, worry about the type of content you're putting out there, right? It's got to be evergreen content that can live on your page forever. If I see a brand new listing of yours and it's on your timeline, and someone 2 years down the line scrolls through your timeline and sees a listing, they don't care about a listing you had 2 years ago. They care about what value you can add to them right now. So the type of content you put out there is going to follow suit with people who are following you. And to kind of leverage that, you have to be a pioneer. Whether you're in the real estate industry or whether you're in any type of industry whatsoever, whether it's insurance, car sales, financial, what have you, you have to be a pioneer in what you do. Someone reached out to me the other day and said, you know what, I want to start doing what you do in healthcare services. And I said, power to you, because you'll be probably the first one to ever do that on Instagram. Just talking about, different type of healthcare plans and whatnot. And, you can, as much as that may be somewhat, of a dry industry where they're not seeing extravagant homes all day, you're getting it out there and you're giving evergreen content to people who want to see it. So be a pioneer in what you do and trust yourself on it, but make sure that it's information that put yourself in the consumer's shoes, right? Look at your page as your online resume and think of your page as that. And if you go back and if you fast forward yourself rather 2 years down the line, is that page still going to be appealing to you? Because if it's not, then, you know, we'll have to change it up ASAP. But don't worry about the number of followers. The followers came organically with me after people started catching on and the buzz, you know, of what I'm doing, and people would ask me how I was doing things and what I was doing, if I was you know, purchasing my marketing and if I had a marketer on my team. But it's all homemade. It's all from scratch. But like I said, it doesn't have to be sexy and appealing content, but it has to be stuff that can live on your page forever. And that's for your timeline.
Cool.
Evergreen content is king. That's all it is. Don't worry about the followers. They come. They really do. I mean, they come organically.
Right. I think it's Gary Vee that says, you know, it's evergreen content is king, consistency is queen. You got to have both of those things. You're doing both of those things.
Right.
And that's going to be kind of the thing that ultimately gets you kind of growing. And, you know, Anthony, I would echo everything that Dante is saying, man. I think it's, as we brought on other people, check out last week's interview as well with Brian. We talked a lot about this growth. He's got a social influencing on the YouTube side of things. He's got over 100,000 followers over on YouTube, and kind of how he's growing that. So there's some strategies, but it's a slow process. But the reality is when you're focused on the value that you're bringing, and that's the leading factor, not the numbers, you're going to win because you're talking to the right audience that's going to turn into business. You can game the system a lot of ways to grow your numbers, but if it's not the right people, what does it matter, right? I think a lot of times I'd rather have the right 5,000 people that I'm talking to than the wrong 10,000 that's never actually going to turn into real dollar and cents in my business.
Right. In my business, again, it ended up catapulting after I started ramping up and doubling down and realizing Instagram was the tool for this. But a lot of people that joined wanted to find how they could add value add to their own industries, right? So it wasn't necessarily consumers that are joining me now. Like I said, it's outside industries and people within the real estate industries that are looking to gain value from what I do. You know, I obviously have ramped up the number of interests and consumers I've attained from 2015 to now on Instagram of how many people interact, but the number of consumers has slowly increased, but the number of followers has rapidly increased because there's people coming from all different wavelengths now. But again, like if you have 1,000 followers or if you have 100 followers, focus on those 100 followers and how you can make them really the most engaged 100 followers possible.
Yeah.
You know, you don't want to have a juggling act. You don't want to do things all the time that you're putting out there that's just about you. You know, put the value for them. Put the consumer first, and you'll see a lot more results.
So as we kind of get close to wrapping up here, the last thing I wanted to ask you about and talk with is what you're doing about, you know, going live with your buyer seminars, right? We talked a little bit about this. So there's a really cool strategy. Not a lot of people are doing it in their marketplaces, but talk about how you're leveraging, you know, the traditional buyer seminar, going live on Instagram and Facebook and kind of shifting that game a little bit.
Yeah, so this is something you have to find some very bold people in the industry to do it with. You got to find people that, you know, understand it. It's cool because, you know, if you look at stats, you know, buyer seminars and seller seminars, buyer seminars have gone downhill tremendously in the past 10 years, right? I mean, whether it's people's working schedules, their day-to-day, you know, what they're doing, people don't want to be bothered anymore. They can go on Google and look up the same things, the same shit that they're doing on your buyer seminar, sitting there in a chair at a local rec room. So what's the second best thing, and what's something that I can challenge a Google to do? And it's going live, a live seminar, right? And you bring in, you know, professionals within your industry, a title and escrow or a real estate attorney, and you bring in a mortgage lender, and you split screen just like we're doing now, Jason, and we break it down to them. And that's better than them telling them to go Google a seminar on YouTube, because guess what? That person on YouTube could just happen to live in the same town you do, and you just put yourself in competition with someone else. So how do you do that? And it's essentially building up. You know, you want to do it just like a seminar, just like you're going to market it. Let people know. Go on Instagram stories and tell people, hey, we're logging on to a seminar on, this month and this day, can you join? Build up a list. If you feel like you don't have as many followers to do that, build up a list of people, get an RSVP on Instagram, do a poll, say, you're going to attend my seminar this day. Everyone that says yes, screenshot that, put it in your photos, give them a call 24 hours before and tell them you're holding them to it, and you better come to the seminar and you better drop a comment. But you got to build it up, right? You got to build up momentum. Everyone wants to build up, and it's all about the build up. So just finding like-minded people in your industry that want to move forward with it is key, first of all. And second of all, identifying a problem in the industry, which I've done quickly in this, is, engaging more people. I'm not looking to find a first-time home buyer on live. Again, it's just another nugget, another tip that I want them to take away. Let them screen record the whole thing and save it for a year, and then they can come back to me. But guess what? They just sat on their couch for a half hour and learned how to buy a home.
Yeah, absolutely. Well, I think about it when I bought my first house, I went to a bank in some basement, ate some day-old cookies, and was pitched on the idea of buying a home. And but the thing was, I needed that education. There were things I didn't understand. I wanted that. I didn't end up working with any of those people at the end of the day, for either from the mortgage side or even the real estate agent side. And that was a missed opportunity on their part because there's no follow-up and no engagement. But I think what you're talking about is this landscape of new buyers, this landscape of it may be age demographic, but here's the reality. Facebook isn't just for millennials. Instagram isn't just for millennials, right? The people that are active users here are it's not just age mentality, right? There's a lot of other people. And so now you can get on and you can educate people at the comfort of their own homes. And I think you said even the statement of they don't have to, they can hide a little bit in the anonymity of asking questions that maybe they wouldn't raise their hand and ask in a classroom setting, but they would in a seminar that's alive.
Yeah.
And you can get information from them, so you can do appropriate follow-up when you provide real value. And if your home buyer seminars suck and they don't provide real value, then no one's going to pay attention to it. But if you're good at it and you can deliver it, man, it's just a killer strategy, and one of those things for our audience I want people to be thinking about.
Yeah, because think about it. Like I said, my network on Instagram, I've worked with people I haven't talked to since middle school, and they're hitting me up on Instagram. You think they're gonna pick up their phone and try to find my name? They're just gonna go find the next realtor on Realtor.com or Zillow. That's their premier agent. But I got in front of them early because I'm doing things like first-time buying seminars, and it makes them feel comfortable. It makes them feel like we rekindled the relationship from back in elementary school. I kid you not. And that's without prospecting and calling your network and calling your sphere. Because I guarantee you, 99.9% of my people, if I called them and I haven't talked to them in 10 years, what do you think they don't want to hear from me? Maybe they will. But they're probably going to ask him that. They're probably like, "Oh, he probably wants my money. He probably wants to take." I'm not looking to take. I'm looking to add value to you. I'm not looking for, extra dollars in my pocket. I'm looking to rekindle or build that relationship even more and provide value for you at the end of the day. And that's what everyone should be doing, is providing value. And if once you see that light, it's game over.
So good. So good. So just looking on Instagram, Nick asked a question, never gone live. Is it easy to set up a split screen with different locations? And what you do on a screen record. Talk a little bit about your system or your process there to kind of help Nick out.
What up, Nick? Shout out to Rhode Island. Nick's a buddy of mine. So Nick, easy enough. I mean, you can log in, or your colleague or your friend can log on to Instagram. You can simply just press a button, ask to join that live. And if they accept it, that you can just join on, just like a friend request. You accept it, and then you'll split screen. It'll automatically split screen for you.
Yep.
And then I'm sorry, what was the second part of that you said?
Well, screen recording, basically by going live, it's already recorded. So you
true.
Share all. Yeah, that makes it really easy.
You can screen record. Yeah. I mean, smartphones, there's always ways to screen record. You can, do a voiceover almost, and it masks it. So you can essentially just record, just a simple screen record on your phone. I can repost that and reshare it as evergreen content later down the line too. So the videos that we create today, even, you chop them up and you make them into evergreen content for people to watch down the road.
Absolutely. So awesome. Well, man, we're here about a half hour. We got a little bit of a later start, but I want to be respectful of your time. So thank you, man. Super, super great information, great content. For everybody that's watching, hopefully you guys found some incredible value in that. As we mentioned last week, if you've been following along with the Bombcast, We are ending season 1 today. We're going to be taking a little break over the holidays and then coming back in January. So you'll still see some lives. We'll still be putting out some good stuff for you guys, some good content, but we will be pressing a pause on this. So before I sign off, man, Dante, final thoughts before we kick things out.
Yeah, I would say, be original, be you, be fearless, and be a pioneer. You might not know how to use Instagram fully, but take risks, do things that other people aren't doing in your market, and absolutely kill it, because that's the only way that you're going to get ahead, is to be a risk taker and put out content that's going to be evergreen, that's going to be valuable to all your clients. Put your clients in your shoes and do vice versa. And any type of questions that you feel like clients are asking you on a day-to-day, put that in evergreen content and let everyone know what they're knowing. You don't have to put their name, but obviously answer the questions on to everybody. Share that information, because more people probably want to know that same question. So
love it, man. If anybody wants to go check you out, what's your Instagram handle, Facebook? Where can they go see what you're doing?
Yeah, shout me out at Dante Bruzzese, Dante Bruzzese, Bruzzese. You can just type in Dante B, probably will come up. I'm on public on everything, Dante Bruzzese on Facebook, on Twitter. The handle is going to be the same. So you better follow me, and I'll follow you guys back.
Awesome. All right. Well, thanks everybody for being a part of the Bombcast today. Thanks you, Dante, for the incredible information, man.
Thank you.
Have a great rest of your week, and we'll see you guys later.
Thanks, guys.